here and supporting us on this first authors panel. We're here to discuss inspirational, spiritual, motivational books. My name is Jonathan Queen. I'm the author of Don't Blame Me and Are You Sane? I will allow each person to introduce themselves, and we'll take a couple minutes to tell you about our work. I have a couple questions for my fellow panel members, and then we'll open the floor for any questions from you as well.
My name is James A. Jimason, and I'm the author of I'm an author of 5 books, and I'm working on them 6. I have 2 of them here with me, Give Me Destiny, and Hard Cry of a Real Christian, and Dante's Destiny, Nothing is What It Seems. And so, Dante's Destiny was actually birthed out of this book, Give Me Destiny. You know, my passion, my mission, if you will, is to really help people to understand that we all have a purpose, a destiny, a reason that we were put here on this earth. And it's not just the results of your parents hooking up, however, and then you came along, but it was ordained. But I realized after writing my second book, Give Me Destiny, I realized, well, not everybody's going to read this book. Not everyone's a Christian. Not everyone's interested in Christian writing. So what could I do to get the other half of the world? So then I created Dante's Destiny. And that's about a young man named Dante who's trying to make sense of his life in the midst of a lot of drama and chaos. And so I created a book that's entertaining, but at the same time introduces the reader to the concept of destiny and purpose. Without being preachy and threatening, you know, that's not everybody's thing. And so I got something that will cover both halves of the spectrum, if you will. My passion is, again, helping people to understand that you're here for a reason, and when you're looking for fulfillment, all you have to do is start with your heart. What's the desire of your heart? When you find the desires of your heart, you'll find your passion, and you'll find the thing that you've been looking for, and you'll have a fulfilled life. And unfortunately, a lot of people are doing things that they don't want to do, but it simply pays the bills. And when you live your life just paying bills, you're going to be a miserable person. So, that's what we're doing. Thank you.
My name is Fredrick, Almond. I'm a senior, and I'm like a freshman right now. I just finished my book on February 17th. But it's called Scarred for Life, Stabbed 39 Times and Brigade. It's a true book, a true story. And when I was a kid, my brother was broke in our house and stabbed and killed my mother, and he thought he'd killed me. And I was stabbed 39 times. And so it's an inspirational message. I had a desire, ever since I overcame the situation. And when I was around 16, after a while, I started talking about my life, my testimony, and it started encouraging people. But never did I know that it would affect people like it did, and it was healing me at the same time. And so eventually later on, I decided to write about it and to encourage people, let them know that whatever you go through, you can overcome it. And so really my great push is just to go out into wherever the world, United States, overseas, let whoever knows, okay, you got a scar, but no one's going to feel sorry for you. Stop looking for charity, you know, accept it for what it is, and go ahead and live life. And like I tell people, you know, unless you forgive, you cannot live. You can't do it. So that, like I said, I've forgiven a guy that killed my mother. He was 17, and just 17 years old. It's been 25 years this year, and one day I pray that somehow I'll be able to either see him face to face, and just tell him I'm forgiven, because I feel like, based upon what I've heard recently about him, I think he's really changed. But sometimes when you do things, it's an encouragement to know that the other person has moved on, and they can just hear those words. So it's really, it may be for me, but I think it's more for him to know that I've moved on with my life. And so that's what this book pretty much is the beginning of the series that I'm being led to do. This one's pretty much just on a little bit about my life before it happened, when it happened, and the hospital experience that I had to go through. Because I wasn't supposed to talk, I wasn't supposed to walk anymore, and different things like that. And so the next book is about going through a scar, having a scar and now living with it, and understanding how to go through it. So.
Yeah, my name is Jonathan Queen. I'm the author of 2 books. My first book entitled Don't Blame Me, The Convict Chronicles. I wrote this book while I was incarcerated. I spent 9 years in the prison system. Don't feel sorry for me. I was dead wrong. I was raised in an environment that pretty much dictated that I was going to follow a certain path. That was the attitude I had, that it wasn't my fault, that it was because of my parents, because of the school system, because of the neighborhood. And that's why I entitled the book Don't Blame Me. Now, although this is fiction, it's loosely based. Some of my experiences, I talk about what it felt like to go out onto the block and sell drugs with my 3-year-old son with me. And I tell the story from his eyes, from a 3-year-old first-person point of view, and him describing the drug addicts and the things of that nature. I also have a story in here that talks about 5 young men who overhear that one of them tested positive for HIV while waiting for their test results, and they take turns reflecting back on how it could have been each one of them, and that's real. I sat in those medical wards in prison and shared with the guys who were going through that type of thing. This book has done a lot for me. It was my first book. I wrote it while I was in prison. I was able to come home, self-publish, and pretty much go through the gamut of being a new author. And I've met some great, wonderful people. This book was a result of a promise that I made to the guys who I was in prison with. I taught GED for 7 out of the 9 years I was there. A lot of guys couldn't read, a lot of them couldn't write. I mean, we're talking about grown men who have never wrote a check before, never calculated the percentage of a tip. These men couldn't do simple fractions. So I taught a creative writing class, and I said that we're going to write about things that we've learned and what we've accomplished instead of glorifying what we've done to come to prison. And this book is the result of that. All the stories focus on that don't blame me attitude. If you don't hold yourself accountable, then you're pretty much going to lose out. My second book is based on the promise that I made to God. That's the title, Are You Sane? Now, how many of you know somebody who has that don't blame me attitude? Like, it's not my fault, this is me, this is how I was raised, this is what you get. And although I was in a physical prison, that wasn't the only prison that I've been in. How many of you know people who are in prisons of drug addiction, domestic abuse, alcoholism, people who are in prisons of depression? So this book here touches on all of that. I was able to go from a man who had 4 children by the time he was 19. I had my first 2 children when I was 16, born 4 months apart. By the time I was 23, I caught my 3rd felony. I was sentenced to 10 years in a federal institution. I was labeled a career criminal. I was a womanizer. I was one of those ones that you could look at and you couldn't tell that they were bad, so that made me even worse. I would walk and give this image to the community like I was doing something very good and positive, but I wasn't. I have 5 younger brothers, and all of them followed this negative example. So this book here is entitled Setting a New Example. So when I go out, I'm a motivational speaker, I'm a deacon at my church. When I speak, people have often asked, what is it that led you to change? What is it that